For the first time in Calgary's history, the Calgary real estate boom that we're experiencing today is not from the price of oil, but from people. I'm gonna pull up this article dated from July the 24th, and it goes on to say that Alberta's population grew by 165,000 people last year and topped 4.7 million earlier this year. The province added nearly 57,000 people between January and March. That is a total of 222,000 people. Moving on to another part of the article, it does say that housing starts though, meaning the start of construction for new homes in Alberta dropped to 14,000 units in the first half of the year. So we welcomed 222,000 people in the last year and a bit, but only have had 14,000 new homes. Another part of the article goes on to say that in Calgary, there are around 20,000 housing units under construction, which is at all-time high, but most of them are apartment units. Now, what does this mean for newcomers? I mean, it's gonna be tough to find a rental property. Average rent is now above $2,000 a month. Existing tenants, there's a higher chance of them facing increase in rents when lease agreement ends. And for those who want to buy a home, it's gonna be a lot tougher because you will most likely be competing with other people on that property. Today, I'm gonna go over the Calgary Real Estate Market update for July, what we saw on the ground for Calgary real estate, and the impact for home buyers and home sellers, and then the statistics for the Calgary real estate market, such as pricing. What's up guys, my name is Felix Chan, Calgary realtor and mortgage broker with Real Broker. Let's get started. Okay, so in summary, it is a super tight seller's market. In fact, it is so tight that if you have a home that is something that we call a handyman special, meaning, you know, it's either been neglected or it hasn't been loved or maintained the way it should be, people with handyman special homes, they're actually getting what they want because they have a lot of leverage, because a lot of buyers, they don't have a lot of choice out there, and you have the option to say no to certain buyer requests, either for maintenance or repairs, and still get a pretty decent price. Now for sellers, you can follow the trend. So whatever comparable properties have sold for recently, this is what you can list for. So you can edge up a little bit higher. Now, if your home is in a unique location or there's super low inventory where you are, then you can always get a little bit more. But you still have to be reasonable. You can't shoot for the moon because, as you'll see when I go over, pricing is tapering off a little bit. For buyers, we are seeing what's called a spillover effect. So as an example, if you're looking in a specific area, a lot of people are getting priced out of it or they can't find what they're looking for. So they look at the next best area closest to the original community that they want to be in. These are the communities that we are seeing super high demand in, and it is a spillover effect from the main most highly desirable communities. What we're also finding is properties between 450 and 650. There's not a lot of inventory. It is very tough. And if you have a budget of 550, you can't be looking at properties at 550. You have to be looking at properties at 500 or maybe even a little bit less than that, because realistically, that property that's listed at 500 will most likely sell for close to around 550. Now, you also may be finding that, you know, what you're looking for may not be ideal and it may need some work or may not be in the best location. If it's a property that isn't ideal because it's a little bit dated or it needs a little bit of love, there's a mortgage program called the Purchase Plus Improvements Program, okay? Now, what this program allows you to do is, if you can qualify for more, it allows you to do renovations to the property and add the cost of those renovations to your mortgage. Now, I'm not gonna go through all the details of that, but that is one creative way that we're helping our buyers buy properties that aren't as ideal or aren't as turnkey as they want. And they can do some renovations to make the property more customized and more catered to their needs based on the trends, the colors, and the overall feel of the property that they're looking for. We have a mortgage team that can handle all of those things and explain in detail what the Purchase Plus Improvements program is and if it's going to be the right program for you. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, make sure you contact us in the description below. Now, we are finding that more people are buying condos and townhomes because they're getting a little bit priced out for, you know, the bigger, better property types. So a lot of people who are aiming for detached homes, maybe it's not quite working out for them. So they are scaling it back down to townhomes, and people that were looking for townhomes are now kind of scaling back to condos. And you'll see, as I'll talk about in a second, that the condo market is pretty strong. And my last piece of advice for you buyers, if you don't take anything else from this video, make sure you take this with you, okay? Most of the time, there's a very high chance that when you write an offer, you're gonna be competing with other agents, or the listing agent will have in their private remarks that only realtors see. They might have it in public remarks, but they will say that we are going to be presenting offers on, you know, Sunday at 5 o'clock, or maybe another date that's in 3 to 5 days from now. Do not conform to their instructions, okay? If you wait 3 to 5 days and present then, there's a high chance that you are not going to win the property. What you have to do is you have to work with an aggressive realtor that isn't afraid to go against what the rule is based on what the listing agent says and write an offer to try and get the property right away. The goal is for you to not to compete, but you have to give an offer good enough so that the seller doesn't think that they're gonna get a better offer. Yes, you may have to pay a premium. Yes, it may be list price or most likely over list price, but the premium you're going to pay today is going to be pretty immaterial, especially if you take into account the rise in home prices over the next 10, 15, 20 years, or however long you plan on staying there. So if your agent is passive, they don't want to offend the other realtor by not following instructions, they're a little soft, and that's okay. You know, some people just aren't as aggressive, or, you know, they're just really careful not to hurt other people's feelings. That's okay. But those are the agents that's not going to help you win the property. Now, I'm saying this because it's not my opinion. It's just the way the world works, especially in such a tight market. Having an experienced agent that knows what they're doing, that is aggressive, that is collaborative, and that knows how to position the offer with the listing agent, that is someone who you want on your side. In summary, you want an agent that doesn't have any F's to give and that will go straight to the listing agent and try and get the deal done for you. Okay, let's talk about the statistics and the numbers. I'm gonna pull up this graph, and this is a graph for total prices for all of Calgary's residential real estate. Now, we typically have 4 to 5 months of increases, and then we kind of start to taper off. And looking at this chart, it's clear the average price has dipped after 4 months of increases in prices. Now, this is for average pricing, and the first pricing I'm going to talk about is always going to be July, and I'm going to compare that to last month's, which is June's pricing, so you can kind of see the trend. For detached homes, it was $731 in July versus $730. Semi-detached, it was $593 versus $627. This is the biggest drop. Townhomes, it was $405 versus $409 in June. And apartments was up at $308 versus $301 in June. Next, I want to talk about days on market, and this is important for sellers because you want to know how long will it take to sell my property. Again, same format. I'm going to talk July and then June. So for detached, it was 22 in July versus 20 in June. Semi-detached, it was 20 versus 19. Townhomes 20 versus 19. Apartments 27 versus 28 in June. So you can see they're relatively the same, but I do think that because pricing has tapered off a little bit compared to the last 4 months, next month for August, we may start to see days on market edge up a little bit more. So there you have it. Pricing did taper off in the last month of July, but we are expecting interest rate hikes in September. The amount of people migrating here is at a record level, which is putting a squeeze on the housing supply. And so what we recommend is buy sooner than later. Don't try to time the market because we just don't know what's going to happen. My name is Felix Chan, Calgary Realtor and Mortgage Broker with Real Broker, and we'll see you in the next video.